Well, it's good to be with you again, and we get to do something quite exciting now, and that's to look at the wonders of creation from three different perspectives: the biological perspective, the philosophical perspective, and theological perspectives. And so there's reading to do, which is available on Moodle. So, what happens with evolution of the COVID-19 virus is that mutations, that is changes in the DNA of the virus, they lead to new variants of the virus. So SARS-CoV-2 is the virus particle that you saw in the video before. And basically this is microevolution. So when you hear about the alpha variant, alpha, delta, omicron, these are different variants of the COVID-19 virus that have appeared over time, over the last few years. And this is basically microevolution. You're having these changes occurring over time. So one response too, I would say, is that we should have, when we look at this video, for example, of how the COVID virus works, it's amazing that we can actually understand the virus. We can understand its structure, its genetic code, and also the mechanism by how it works. I mean, 100 years ago, when there was a great flu epidemic, none of this kind of things were known. But because of science, a gift from God, we can understand these things, and also this knowledge has practical implication. It allows the development of drugs and vaccines and different medical treatments. So let's now go back to evolution. So evolution, scientific evidence for evolution. So why do I believe that biological evolution is sound science? Well, one of the things we can do is we can look at the evidence for it. And one of the striking things about evolution is that there's many independent lines of evidence, and these all support the idea that diverse forms of life are related through common ancestors. And so I encourage you to look at the video on Moodle, but you can do comparative anatomy, you can look at embryology, that is how the babies develop, and you can look at fossils and intermediate species that are seen in fossils, and then particularly nowadays you can do comparisons of DNA of different species, and you can also look at where the species are distributed in space, and then there's something called nested hierarchies of traits. Now what this all leads to is maps like this, the tree of life maps, which show the biological relationship between species. And you can do this on the macro scale in terms of what the species look like, this is called the phenotype, but you can also do it on the micro scale at the level of genetics, and you can compare the DNA of different species and see how they're related. And again, it supports this kind of tree structure. So what's the origin of all of this science? Well, the key figure is Charles Darwin, and particularly in 1859 he published The Origin of Species. And just a few things to note is that he mentions creation, creator, create 104 times. He only mentions evolved once. That's the last word in the book. and evolution he doesn't mention at all. But I want to read the last sentence of the book. So this is what Darwin, when he reflected on his perspective, the last sentence is, "There is a grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers having been originally breathed by the Creator into a few forms or into one, and that while this planet has gone circling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful, have been and are being evolved." So Darwin saw this diversity and this unity as something coming from the Creator and something wonderful. So let's just end this part by having a biblical perspective. So Psalm 104 says, "How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. There is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures beyond number, living things, both large and small." So just to summarize, I hope that you've contemplated the wonders of nature and that we should praise the Creator. And biological evolution gives a scientific explanation of both the diversity of life but also the unity of life. Now this does raise questions, and so in the next part we're going to look at how we really need to distinguish scientific questions from philosophical questions and theological questions about creation and biology.